is Swift, and in this video I want to talk to you about emotions. Your emotions as well as your children's emotions when you're around young children. Now I'd like to start off by talking about when you're feeling certain emotions such as sadness, anxiety, being in a bad mood, all those kind of things, and how to deal with it when you're around your children. Now, it's actually okay to be sad, anxious, whatever you're feeling in front of your children. In fact, it's a good thing to be like that in front of your child, especially young children, because what you will be doing then is normalizing different emotions. So making children understand through your experiences that they are going to feel lots of different emotions throughout their life. Now, you've also got to make sure though that afterwards, well, during or after you're feeling these certain ways, you explain to them what you were feeling, why you were feeling it, and that it's okay to feel this way, and most importantly, that you're going to be okay. Because these emotions could be scary and confusing for your child. However, if you explain it to them, then what you're doing is you're teaching them life experiences and emotions through your experiences. And then also what you're doing is you're opening up a conversation. So if you talk to them about your emotions, there's a good chance that you will open them up to talk about their emotions. So you're giving them a really, really good life skill by showing them that it's normal to feel an array of emotions. Now, I want to talk to you about emotional literacy, because children in early years, they are still learning about what they're feeling. And it was first, well, emotional literacy was first identified by Claude Steiner, who found that emotional literacy encompasses the fact that children will learn about their emotions, they will develop empathy, they will start to understand what other people are learning, and they'll learn to manage their emotions on their own, but also in social situations. And it's just about them really developing deep skills of, these are my emotions, this is okay, and these are what other people are feeling, and I feel good for them, and I want to care for them, and I feel empathy. And this actually is the start of not only good mental health, but it also really sets them up for very healthy relationships, and also ways to manage their emotions in difficult social situations. So you're setting them up for, good ways of dealing with emotions throughout their lives. Now, how can we teach children emotional literacy, or how can we teach children about their emotions? Now, when they're at home a lot, you can actually have lots of discussions, and you can include emotions within your day-to-day conversations. So it's really good to label your own emotions. So, if you're feeling frustrated and you being a little bit agitated, you can explain that I'm frustrated because I can't go outside on this beautiful day because I have to work. But it's okay, I'm going to be all right, because later on when I finish work, then I can come up outside. So I'm a bit frustrated now, but I'll be all right later. And you can have those kind of conversations. Also then speak to them. Oh, why are you feeling like that? Why are you angry? Why, or what do you think you're feeling? And then have the discussion of, what do you think you could do to really make yourself feel better? So throughout the day, you can have those kind of conversations. At the beginning of the day, you can have a chat about how you feel about the day and how you feel about what's going to happen during the day. And you can ask your child how they feel about the day. And it's, it's just really good ways of creating this kind of conversation with your child. And dinner time is such a good time for the family to come together, talk about what happened throughout the day, talk about how you feel about certain things. Oh, I felt very proud because I achieved this today. Those kind of things. And then you ask your child as well. And then throughout, as time goes on, add in more complicated emotions such as embarrassment, feeling proud, those kind of more complicated emotions. So stick to quite simple ones to start off with, and then you add in more emotions as you go on. And then, things like stories. So when you're reading your child a story, really a good way to teach young little children things is to put it within a context. So if you're reading a story, you could say, oh, how do you think that little bear feels when he's lost his friends? Or, how does that little girl feel when she got given a birthday cake, and that kind of thing. So then you can discuss it that way. Obviously, there's lots of other games. Role play is great. It's just generally great in so many ways for children when they're doing construction activities. If things break and they get really frustrated or annoyed, you can ask them what are they feeling and what they can do to make it better. There's lots of ways of teaching them about emotions. Rather than just telling them, you can include it into a lot of activities. You could have drawing games where you have happy face, sad face, cross face, those kind of things. You could have action games or action songs where you act them out, because obviously we want children to be as active as possible. So there's a lot of ways that you can add emotions into activities and games. I want to talk to you a bit about behaviour management. Now, when children, well, all children really, they're full of energy, and their most natural state is when they're moving, when they're engaged, when they're exploring, when they're trying new things, and they're loving what they're doing. Now, we often say to children, sit down, focus, concentrate, all that kind of stuff. But if you find that a child is really being niggly, and they might just not be getting enough exercise. So, it might actually be worth, if a child is getting niggly, go and do something fun that's active, and it's a very good way to diffuse the situation. But it's also really, you're helping them get back to their natural state. Get them outside, get them jumping around, get them to do the things that they like doing. Do an active story, think of a story that they like and create the actions to it. Do something that just keeps them moving. There's lots of things, for example, when a child is having what we call a tantrum. Now, more often than not, a child is having a tantrum because they've felt a certain way and it's kind of spiraled out of control. Then they've felt new emotions, which has completely freaked them out, and it's this terrible spiral of emotions. Because they haven't learned about these emotions, it scares them and confuses them, and it just makes them feel worse and worse and worse. So there's different ways you can deal with it. You could either distract them by something else, which usually isn't an easy way to do, because once they're in that spiral, it's very hard to kind of distract them from what they're in. So my advice, as much as when a child is like that, especially in public and it's embarrassing, instead of you kind of probably want to feel like you want to push them away. You don't want to be near them. Just try and hold them in, try and hug them. And because it's actually very secure and calming, and it'll make them feel love and security and calm, and it's just probably the best thing you can do for when a child is having a tantrum, because they're not misbehaving. They're feeling emotions that they don't understand. But then what you need to also think about is, on the flip side, if a child is behaving such a way that it's a negative way where they're attention seeking, so they're trying to get your attention through negative behavior. So that's not a tantrum. It's just they're doing something that they know that they shouldn't do, or you won't like. They could very well be doing that to get your attention. Now, when a child is doing that, it usually shows that there's an issue. It could be that they're feeling insecure. It could be that they're struggling with a certain relationship. It could be, it could be various things, but it's usually when a child isn't feeling very secure. So what you could do is, first of all, try and diffuse the situation by just talking about something else that they did that you're really proud of, that you really like. So just take attention away from what they're doing and talk about something else. But also in the long term, when a child is attention seeking in a negative way, try not to give them the attention they're seeking, because then it just reinforces that behavior, and then they get into the pattern of doing that behavior over and over again. Whereas what you want to do is you want to give them their attention when they're not attention seeking. So, that's kind of a bit of a long-term plan, but just keep on thinking about, give them extra attention when they're doing something that's really good, when they're behaving in a positive manner. And then when they're attention seeking, doing something that's not good, just do not give them the attention. I think, obviously a lot of you will know this already, but I'm just reinforcing these things. And I mean, there's a lot of other things that are really important. Obviously give your child praise. I'm sure it's something that generally parents will do. But what's really good is teach your child to identify their own successes and learn to praise themselves, because that's a really good way. Children then won't grow into these adults that constantly need praise from others, because they can identify when they've done something good, or they've had an achievement, and then they can praise themselves. It's really good to feel good about yourself and be able to go, I did well there, and not seek that from anyone else. Just generally when children are playing, they are generally developing their confidence. If they achieve something, they develop their confidence. And we can teach them how to develop their executive functions and their, just generally develop lots of confidence and ways to, how can I say it, deal with higher level emotions and how they can move forward in that way. And then I would say, just to finish this off, I'd like us to think about what we want our children to grow up to be like. What kind of adults? And I would say there's many things, but ultimately we want them to be independent, happy adults, don't we? So ultimately, the way to develop an independent, happy child into an adult is to teach them self-belief, teach them how to feel good about themselves, teach them how to do things themselves, teach them how to problem solve, teach them self-regulation, which means we're teaching them how to understand our feelings and what to do about them. We're teaching them how to have good relationships with others. We're teaching them social skills. So through all of this, we really will help them to learn, to become independent. It's very easy to want to do everything for our children, but we want to teach them, give them confidence, resilience, self-belief. And through that, we are more likely going to teach our children to be happy children, happy adolescents, and then ultimately happy adults. And that's the best gift we can give our children. Thank you for listening, and good luck.